Well, hello there, Blade fans. This old sword is with you. And, I've had this idea for a while now of contrasting these two different, radically opposed blade styles. On the left, you see the Wharncliffe style blade with three prominent examples. A fixed blade being the Ronin from Spyderco, the folder being the Yojimbo by Spyderco, the Roxy 4 designed by Todd Knife and Tool on the left, no longer in production, but a 4-inch Wharncliffe style blade. And then we have the Chopper, and two of these two sons, I'll give you the names as soon as I turn them over because they're usually numbers and not names. And, well, you'll end up knowing what they are as soon as we pick them up and start looking at them. But I want to give you some concept and some basis here first for these two different blade styles. They both serve great purposes. The deep belly and trailing point of the blades on the right, so we're classifying all of these as trailing points. You could say Persian in some cases. This is kind of Persian in here, and this, I believe it's a Wong designed two-son knife. And we have the straight edge on the Wharncliffe. So taking a closer look, as I say, both of these blade styles serve a purpose. The thing about the Wharncliffe is you have immediate access to the point. Now, Michael Janich, who designed the original Yojimbo and its successors for Spyderco, and is a well-known trainer with defensive tactics style blades, felt that this style knife with that protruding point in a straight line with the edge is the best possible knife to engage a target on a swing, on a stroke like this. And of course he's talking about human targets, right? Also, it is still very viable for the thrust. And we're going to get out some cutting materials here in a moment to demonstrate what I'm talking about. Now, if we take this one here, which does happen to be the TS288 by Wong, and Wong Designs has done a number of Persian-style blades in recent years, particularly in 2022. This one's quite unusual with the kind of the bird's beak hook at the end of the handle. It's actually more comfortable than it looks. But in stroking with this knife, all right, in slashing and swinging along that arc, the first point of contact is going to be roughly the middle of the blade. Now, that's not particularly pointy there, right? That's a broad surface. And in Filipino martial arts, Dan Inosanto came up with the concept of zones of maximum pressure. So if you think of, and thus far I've only been talking about defensive use of the knife, I realize that, and there's a lot of utilitarian uses for these knives as well. Obviously, and I'll get back to zone of maximum pressure in a minute, don't let me forget. A knife like this is a good meat cutter. You can slice, you can prep with it, and it does have that great capability. So you can draw along a long edge, right, and slice through things that way. The issue is that if you're using this knife to defend yourself with and you're hoping to get a deep cut to incapacitate something coming at you, the point of the blade is moving away from the direction of the target. Let me see if I can demonstrate. I have a piece here of packing foam, this black, dense, closed cell foam. And so if I hold this up here as a target and swing, zone of maximum pressure is right about there, okay? But then as you continue, the pressure lessens because you're actually moving the target away from the edge. It's lightening, all right? If we use something like the Roxy 4 here, which is a Wharncliffe style blade, as it swings, that point is digging in, you see? Even if we sort of miss and we just get the point, we get that. But here, pushing, it's going to continue to cut through, you see, that way. So we're increasing pressure towards the point. And that is the idea of zone of maximum pressure. Another way to look at it is a baseball bat and a baseball. When you're swinging the baseball bat, you're looking to connect at what they call the sweet spot, right? Maybe about, a quarter to a third in from the end of the bat where you have the most mass, right? And when you collide with that ball there, you've got the potential for a long hit. If you catch that bat up here closer to the handle, then you're probably going to have a foul ball. If you catch it too early, you're probably going to have a foul ball in the other direction. So, simple idea, but it does represent what we're talking about here. Again, moving a curved blade, and here's a beautiful knife, a beautiful defensive knife designed by Bastian Cove. And this is the Chopper. Expensive knife, M390, going for about 300 bucks or so. But very nice, feels terrific in the hand. Again, the thing is that you need to sort of do some pulling cuts with it in order to really make that edge work for you. And I'm sure you've seen Bastian's rope cuts and seatbelt cuts and strap cuts and so forth, and he can slice right through them with this thing. Again, it has a lot to do with technique. But getting back to Michael Janich's idea with the Ojimbo, this point is going to be the prominent feature in any sort of a swinging motion. It also is in a direct line for any thrusts, right? If we can use, let's say, a piece of paper to demonstrate, you might see this a little more effectively. So let's go to the Persian here, 288, and if I'm cutting at this piece of paper, I'm just lightly tapping it, right? No damage. Why? Because it's sliding off. It can still be extremely sharp, but there's no bite. You have to whack it and then slice through. All right? Maybe if I get down here with the tip, I can begin to do some damage, but still nothing, right? If I take the Ojimbo, what do you suppose is going to happen? Well, that's my point, as they say. So again, here's the contrast, right? Look at that. I mean, they almost fit into each other. One angle's down and one angle's up. That doesn't make the trailing point knife bad or even not useful for defensive techniques. The reverse thrust, you're leading with the point. It's going to go right in, right? So when this hits the target, and I don't want to knock down all my lights doing it, right? When you're coming back that way, that point's going to go right in. And if the top of it's sharpened, then you can cut with it as well. And again, cutting something such as meat, poultry, fish, you can cut in, certainly, right? You have to use a little bit more of an arc, but it's still going to work for you. And those aren't that shallow a wound either. Now, just kind of going through these, this is the Ronin by Spyderco, which essentially is the fixed blade version of the Yojimbo. Just about identical in every respect. Slightly longer blade. The Roxy 4 S35VN, titanium handle. It's a beauty. Too bad it's been discontinued, but has been replaced by some very nice other Todd Knife and Tool designs. This big boy here is the Jelly Jerry design TS209, and this he calls the Sultan Scimitar. And scimitars were known for that deep belly and that trailing point. Now in this case, you've got a pretty prominent belly, and a lot of this does have to do with edge geometry. You know, you can hack with this, but you know, hacking with a short blade that's 3.5 to 4 inches long isn't the same as hacking with a scimitar, a sword. Very comfortable knife, by the way. It just melts into the hand. Great job by Jelly Jerry. It's a radical and extreme design for sure, but very fidgety and a very nice knife. But all of these represent trailing point blades. I hope I was able to make, quote unquote, a point, and that you followed me in this little bit of a dissertation about two opposing, contrasting blade styles, both of which are good, both of which you simply need to know what your application is going to be. In my book, I vote for the Wharncliffe style blade as a defensive knife over the trailing point, as much as I do like these knives on the right. So these are going to have the thrusting capability, and these are going to have a wicked point forward slashing capability. Check out Michael Janich's videos using a pork roast that he simulates an arm by putting a wood dowel down the middle, putting the pork roast around it, wrapping that with saran, and then putting a denim jacket over that. And the Yojimbo's pretty devastating on that, in that case, through those materials. All right, well, there you go. Hope this was of some value for you, and if you have any questions, certainly put them in the comments. Happy to respond to you with as much time as I have available. And don't forget to give this video a like. Thank you so much.